Great. How about you? So welcome to the December Marathon Packet.
So Councilmember Huffaker said, welcome to the what? Marathon packet,
The December Marathon Packet.
special meeting packet. Thanks. Obviously, it was a great success. I know some of you are still here. The 4 to 5 was what a great success. This is last meeting for Councilmember Huffaker, so I'm going to ask him again to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
My pleasure. Please rise and remove your hats. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Huffaker. Appreciate that. Let's see, we have our roll call. Councilmember Rhodes Stevenson is, I believe, online. Is that correct? Do we have him?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So we have everybody here. Great turnout. At this time, we're going to have a citizens request comments. It's a period to provide the opportunity for members of the public to address the council on any matter, including items on the agenda. Comments on the public hearing, and we do have a public hearing item, will be taken during the public hearing process. Please address the council when you're recognized and come up to the microphone, and we'll allow 3 minutes on your comment. Who do we have first?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Appreciate this opportunity to be here. I know you have a pack of, what do you have, 550 pages? I'm sure that they've all been read and gone through. I wanted to come tonight to give my appreciation to Councilmember Huffaker. I've worked on both sides of this podium with him for the last 12 years, and I've been amazed by his work, his intellect, his pragmatic approach to things. He not only goes through all of that information, he comes up with his ideas and his opinions, which represent the people that elected him, and then he also votes the way of his opinion. So really appreciate what you've done, Keith, and the citizens of Wenatchee, I'm sure, are behind me in saying that, and thank you so much for your great service to the city of Wenatchee.
Thank you.
Round of applause.
Hello.
Is Tammy available? She was going to help me with something.
Our city clerk is here.
I'll pause just a moment here while we bring up an audio visual, so please enjoy. I worked on this a few days ago. By now, you know I'm Charlie Hickenbottom, 127 South Franklin, Wenatchee. You know that I represent the defunct bike board that was disbanded a couple years ago. I think that was a big mistake. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and Public Works staff. Tonight you will deliberate on a project to place a bridge over the Burlington Northern Railroad tracks, making a connection between the Loop Trail and South Wenatchee Avenue. When this bridge is built in a couple of years, it will have been a wait of nearly 3 decades from when this bridge was first proposed by the Bike Board, 1998. This new bridge, funded by a federal infra grant awarded a couple of years ago, is marked in blue on the map. But how would a bicyclist or a pedestrian get to the new bridge from South Wenatchee? Marsh Street is very steep. There isn't an easy way to get to Bridge Street. Ferry Street has no bike lanes and includes an intimidating crossing of South Mission Street. The City Council should add a new project to its 6-year transportation plan to provide bicycle infrastructure between Wenatchee High School and Bridge Street. And this time, let's not wait 30 years to get it done. Thank you.
Okay, who's next? Seeing none, we are going to gather up here for Councilmember Huffaker, and obviously he's given 12 years of impressive service to our community. And as I mentioned earlier, today around 4 o'clock, when I believe people are inherently good, Councilmember Huffaker cares about our community, and he's inherently good, and he's given back probably when he was a little boy with everything, and I think that's important to recognize. And thank you again for 12 years of service. I'd like maybe you to be here. We're going to take a picture of all the city council, and if you do that, that'd be great.
Okay.
So if we can just all stand up here, I think would be good. And Keith, come on over. We get a couple pictures. So we're going to give Councilmember Huffaker 3 minutes.
Good time.
I'll take those 3 minutes and see you 3.5. Well, thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate this and the recognition. I have appreciated everybody on the council this last 12 years and the new faces, and it's been great to get to know you all and work with you all. As I reflect back on where I started and my first day on council and seeing some of the things that went on behind the city, is a real eye-opener for me, and I'm sure you all felt the same way. The first time you went through a packet and saw everything that was expected of you and signed some vouchers for money that you had never seen before, and where it was going you didn't understand. So it's been a good 12 years, and I will definitely miss the people. It's been wonderful to represent the citizens of Wenatchee. The other thing I wanted to say, just from my experience, that I know some of you know that sometimes I'm the the lone voice saying, no, I don't think we should do this. And I can't tell you how many times when I do that citizens search me out and thank me for doing that. So I would encourage all of you and the new person who's going to take my seat to be listening to the citizens of Wenatchee. We do represent them, and we're supposed to be good stewards of their money, and we really need to be thinking about that as we vote for some of these resolutions. With that, I'll say thank you again, and let's get on with the meeting.
Thank you, Councilmember Huffaker. Okay, we'll go on to our consent items.
And I think I should have to be the one who reads the longest consent item that we've ever had.
I agree.
Your Honor, I'm going to make a motion for the approval of the agenda, the vouchers, and the minutes from previous meetings. And also a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-29, designating representatives on behalf of the city of Wenatchee to various community boards, councils, organizations, and authorizing the representatives to vote on the city's behalf. Resolution 2024-30, reappointing Sean Coster as a member to the Wenatchee Arts, Recreation, and Parks Commission. Resolution 2024-31, reappointing Ryan Harms as a member to the Wenatchee Arts and Recreation and Parks Commission. Resolution number 2024-32, reappointing Paul Priestley, Kristen Lodge, and Mark Miller as members to the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for additional 2-year terms. And that's not all. Resolution number 2024-33, reappointing Paul Priestley, Charlotte Mayo, Frida Stevens as members to the Tourism Promotion Area Advisory Committee, also known as TPA, for an additional 3-year term. Resolution number 2024-37, designating Councilmember Linda Harold as Mayor Pro Tempore for the calendar year 2025, and to authorize for the mayor to sign the right-of-way transaction documents for the acquisition of property rights from the Michelson Packing Company necessary for the construction of the Confluence Parkway Phase 1 project, project number 2202.1, and authorization for the mayor to sign the right-of-way transaction documents for the acquisition of property rights for the Rincon Investment LLC necessary for the construction of the Confluence Parkway Phase 1 project, project number 2201.1, and also authorize for the mayor to sign the right-of-way transaction documents for the acquisition of property rights from RPB LLC necessary for the construction of Confluence Parkway Phase 1, project number 2201.1, and finally to accept the work performed by the contractor JM Pacific for the Pasquasa, how do you say it, Dave? Pasquasa Plaza construction project, and authorize the city administrator to sign the final contract voucher.
Second.
Dave.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Huffaker and second by Councilmember Cuevas for approval of agenda vouchers and minutes from the previous meeting. Resolution number 2024-29, designating representatives on behalf of the city of Wenatchee to various community boards, councils, and organizations. Authorize the representatives to vote on the city behalf. Resolution number 2024-30, reappointing Sean Coster as a member of the Wenatchee Arts, Recreation, and Parks Commission. Resolution number 2024-31, reappointing Ryan Harmon as a member of the Wenatchee Arts, Recreation, and Parks Commission. Resolution number 2024-32, reappointing Paul Presley, Kristen Lodge, and Mark Miller as the members of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee for additional 2-year terms. Resolution 2024-33, reappointing Paul Presley, Charlotte Mayo, and Frida Stevens as members of the Tourism Promotion Area Advisory Committee for additional 3-year terms. Resolution number 2024-37, designating Councilmember Linda Harold as Mayor Pro Tempore for calendar year 2025. Authorization for the mayor to sign the right-of-way transaction documents for the acquisition of property rights from Michelson Packaging Company necessary for the construction of Confluence Parkway Phase 1 project, project number 2202-.1. Authorization for the mayor to sign the right-of-way transaction documents for the acquisition of property rights from Rincon Investments Limited Liability Corporation necessary for the construction of Confluence Parkway Phase 1 project, project number 2201.1. Authorization for the mayor to sign the right-of-way transaction documents for the acquisition of property rights from RPB Limited Liability Corporation necessary for the construction of Confluence Parkway Phase 1 project, project number 2201.1. And to accept the work performed by the contractor JM Pacific for the Plaza construction project and authorize the city administrator to sign the final contract voucher. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We'll go to our action items. City Administrator.
Good evening, Council. Laura Gloria, City Administrator. The item before you is the 2025 through 2027 Animal Control Services Agreement between the City of Wenatchee and Wenatchee Valley Animal Care and Control, also known as the Wenatchee Valley Humane Society. We have been contracting with Wenatchee Valley Humane Society / Animal Control Care for quite some time. This contract, our current contract is expiring this year, so our last contract was from 2022 through the end of this year, through 2024. So this would be a new 3-year contract. The contract revised terms are specific to the cost. The revised terms provide for a one-time 20% increase in 2025, and then 5% annual updates for 2026 and 2027. Otherwise, the actual terms of the contract are intact as they are in past years. Nothing has really changed there, although we are in discussions about how to further streamline services, how to make some changes that might be a little bit easier to manage. For example, right now, we require folks to license their cats. That is sometimes difficult for folks who manage community cats that are not necessarily theirs. And so we have started some of those conversations. However, none of that's been changed, and we would come back to City Council with some of those changes. Other than that, happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I hate to ask, did we ever get a good answer of why they needed such a huge increase this year? And I know they were asking for more, and you guys did a great job in negotiating with them, but
Thank you. It's my understanding that the program has been operating at a deficit for the past several years, and so that was a piece of it, trying to make up for that deficit. They had also incorporated new things, such as new vehicles for their animal control officers, and front-loaded those for 2025, the full cost of the vehicle. By backing some of those out or spreading those over a longer term, that's how they were able to bring that down. And then frankly, we just renegotiated the deficit piece by talking about some things in streamlining services, and really that is an operational thing we have to figure out at some point in time, which is why we're going to continue to chat. But really, being able to keep the dollar that's sustainable within our budget was a piece of that discussion. So yes, we were able to address it by spreading out some of those costs and then taking a hard look at operations.
okay, thank you for your hard work on that.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll make a motion for City Council to approve a 3-year agreement with the Wenatchee Valley Animal Care and Control LLC for animal control services and authorize the city administrator.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Atkinson, second by Councilmember Hornby, for City Council to approve the 3-year agreement with the Wenatchee Valley Animal Care and Control LLC for animal control services and authorize the city administrator's signature. Any other discussion or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was wondering where you were at.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Jessica Shaw, Deputy Public Works Director, Utilities. And tonight, for your consideration, I have a contract amendment. It's actually amendment number 3 to a professional services agreement we have with Stantec Consulting Services. And this is for our regional water system, which our partners are East Wenatchee Water District and Chelan PUD. And we've been working with Stantec. They've been providing some great support for us as we work through Confluence Parkway and looking at possibly a redundant transmission main on Confluence Parkway. And as we've been working with Stantec, some questions have come up about redundancy and making sure that our regional water system is resilient. And so with that, we would like to continue to work with Stantec and look at additional redundant transmission mains, and also how we could operate our regional water system if we needed to shut off portions of it for maintenance, or perhaps during the construction of bridges. So we have lots of questions that still need to be answered, and so would like to continue working with them. This would also help us evaluate the condition of our wells and look at how we can plan better in the future to continue doing maintenance activities that keep our system running. Our water system, of course, very important for our whole valley. And then also investigate potentially a new emergency well located in East Wenatchee. So lots of activities happening under this scope of work. Also wanted to mention the Regional Water Committee, which includes representatives, including our own Mayor Poyer, and representatives from the East Wenatchee Water District Board and the Chelan PUD Board. They met in October and they approved a budget for 2025, which included this work out of the regional budget. which those regional funds come from the sale of water to all three of those water utilities. So if approved tonight, we would begin right away and hopefully have most of this work done in the first half of 2025. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about the project or regional water, so.
I have no questions. I'll make a motion for the city council to approve contract amendment number 3 to the professional services agreement with Santec Consulting Services for the regional water technical support for Confluence Parkway and authorize the city administrator's signature.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hornby and second by Councilmember Ewer for City Council approved contract amendment number 3 to the professional service agreement with Stantec Consulting Services for regional water technical support for Confluence Parkway and authorize the city administrator's signature. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Do you have anything else tonight?
I do not.
So I am going to say it again. I received a call from another city that you answered their question. They just wanted to tell me thank you. She doesn't brag about herself, but I'm telling you, other cities and counties know what a gold mine we have. So thank you
Mayor.
very much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Good evening, council. City engineer, I'm here to brag about Jessica as well. Maybe after the meeting, but yeah, she deserves all the kudos that you guys can drum up. So I'm here to bring an item for your consideration, asking for authorization for the city administrator to execute a change order to the task order we currently have with our design builder on Confluence Parkway. So as many of you recall, we solicited for design build firms to design and build Confluence Parkway Phase 1. We had 5 proposals. Last September of last year, we selected Kramer Scarcella Brothers joint venture, executed an initial contract with them in November to do a validation. During that phase, they developed a target budget, scope, and schedule, what it was going to take to design and build the project and kind of help us hone in on really the scope and a budget. After that, we entered into the design development phase, which allowed them to advance the design to a point where we can negotiate a guaranteed max price to finish the design and build the project. So they've completed that work to kind of where we had the scope to a design level of the plans. We are currently still negotiating the GMP with them this month, but this change order would allow them to continue to advance the design to our final design submittal. So things are on pace. I would expect to come to you next month or at a future council meeting for the next phase, but this is really kind of moving that phase of work that would, or some of these design tasks would be in that next phase into the current phase, just to allow the project to continue to advance forward, remaining on schedule. And so the total amount here is roughly, $644,187. And so again, this would allow them to continue advance the design to a 100% level. And then the next phase of work would then kind of take those to what we call a release for construction set and build the project. And so with that, I'm happy to answer any questions about the project or this change order.
And you've been happy with the work you've seen out of them so far, and things are moving as you expect?
Yes, yeah, currently we are, we're still negotiating that price, but we are, this change order is within our current project budget, and I would anticipate my next action would come in here as well as within the project budget. So they've done a good job of staffing up and getting through the work, and we don't want to lose that momentum and keep progress moving. We've been working really well with a lot of our partners at the PUD, the other franchise utilities, the BNSF Railroad, and all the other partner agencies on this job.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for City Council to authorize the city administrator to execute change order number 1 to task order CP South Amendment number 1 with Kramer Scarcella Brothers joint venture for the Confluence Parkway Phase 1 project number 2201.1.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Ewer and second by Councilmember Harold for City Council to authorize the city administrator to execute change order number 1 to task order CP South Amendment number 1 with Kramer Scarcella Brothers joint venture for the Confluence Parkway Phase 1 project, project number 2201.1. Any discussion or comments?
Great job. You deserve kudos too. You guys do great work. Thank you.
No, I think that is good. You've done a good job keeping the project moving forward quickly, and the fact that you're getting phase 1 and part of phase 2 going, I think that's wonderful.
Thank you,
Well
Council.
done.
Outstanding.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'll recuse myself on this next item.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Alyssa Schaefer, Facilities Manager for the Public Works Department. I'm here tonight to present for your consideration change order number 5 to the Wenatchee Convention Center expansion and renovation project, the contract with Absher Construction Company. The pending changes for change order number 5 include the reinstallation of the 3 flagpoles that were previously installed at the Fountain Plaza at the Convention Center. There are some geotechnical modifications that we needed to make due to some unsuitable soil found in the plaza area once we uncovered the concrete. And this change will also add 6 additional calendar days to the contract substantial completion date. There are door hardware modifications necessary to better align with the design intent for the overall project, and there are a few minor structural steel adjustments that were uncovered during the shop drawing review process. And then finally, we made a modification, and hopefully this will show, to the exterior form liner product that we will apply to the form liner on the facade of the North Wenatchee Avenue approach to the Convention Center. This photo or rendering demonstrates the new form liner, and I will show you what the old form liner looked like for comparison. If this change order is approved, the contract will be adjusted by $128,445. I do apologize, I believe your packet says $138,445. $128,445 is less than 1% of the total contract amount and is broken down into 3 categories: the owner changes, unforeseen conditions, and design complexities. We are tracking according to industry standards relative to change order dollars on a project of this size and scope. The change order amount will be deducted from the project's existing contingency fund, and we continue to align with the capital project budget sheet, which is also included for reference in your packet. And since budget and schedule align closely together, I would like to show you how we are progressing. This schematic shows we are approximately 50% complete on a calendar view, but we are 25%, approximately 25% complete on a cash flow progress. There were delays in receiving steel. And we are now tracking approximately 3 weeks behind our original substantial completion date of August 4th. With the approval of this change order, the new substantial completion contract date will be August 10th. And the contractor is working on remedies to better the end date from the end of August as shown here. I would like to note there are liquidated damages outlined in the contract if the contractor is unable to meet the substantial completion on time.
There are two projects in one. We also have the Fuji Gala renovation happening right now. And the renovation is approximately 25% complete, and it needs to be done by the end of February, as the convention center has conventions and events scheduled in March of 2025. And with that, I would open up for any questions.
I know this went to the Finance Committee. You know, it's kind of interesting because, you know, it's number 5, I guess, change order number 5. But when we first do projects, maybe you can just talk a minute about that. When we first do projects, we have this contingency in there, and maybe you can just say where we're at. Because technically, I can say we're still on budget. But
Correct.
maybe you could explain just a little bit what.
So we have $500,000 in contingency funds allocated to this project, which is about 3.5%, which is on the low end for a project of this size. We are maintaining good trajectory to be successful towards the end of the project, but the project budget includes $500,000 for unknown expenses that may be generated throughout the course of the project. So we are tracking well within our budget.
I did have a question. You mentioned that we were about 3 weeks behind on the overall project. How are we tracking for the Fuji Gala rooms?
We have encountered some challenges that we're working through, and hopefully Monday we'll have a solution and we should be on track for a March 1st opening of those spaces.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good work. Thank you. This is a big project. Been really excited to see the crane down there throwing steel around for a while last month or so. So I know the downtown crew was excited to see that too. So
Yeah.
My question's for Linda. How's things going for you as far as continuing to have some meetings and?
There's been some challenges, but we're working through them. We're working very closely with Lisa and keeping track of things. And a couple of challenges, we'll find out more on Monday. So I'm feeling pretty confident that everything's going to be fine. They have told us that we could start selling it October 1st, as far as the new expansion. I think they're feeling pretty confident that that will be easily done, so not too concerned.
Good to hear. Thank you.
any other questions? Sorry. Your Honor, I'll make a motion for the City Council to approve change order number 5 with Absher Construction Company and authorize City Administrator's signature.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Hornby and second by Councilmember Ewer for City Council to approve change order number 5 with Absher Construction Company and authorize the City Administrator's signature. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you out there every day?
I try to be.
I saw her out there today.
Yeah, I think it's every day you're there.
You can
Yeah,
tell by my attire.
yeah. Thank
Took
you.
your hard hat off, though.
Yeah, makes a difference
Hair
when,
still looks good.
when you're out there every day. That's why it's going so well, I think.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Darcy Ronning, Utility Planner, Public Works Department. I'm here tonight to talk to you about our 9th Street project, which is a water quality retrofit project that I'm happy to say is pretty much done. We're buttoning up this project, but tonight's action that I'm here to talk to you about is for cultural resource monitoring. As part of this project, Ecology required us to have a cultural resource monitoring and archaeologists on site for all ground disturbing activities. We obtained Tierra right away for those services, and they did a great job for us. The job itself ended up having a few more days where they needed to be on site for the groundwork. It was taking us a little bit longer. The project itself finished on time with only 6 days added to the contract. But they had to spend a little bit more time out there, and they are asking for reimbursement. So this motion, if approved, would amend their contract by $3,863.10 to cover the additional days that they had to be on site during that construction. This is a funded cost that Ecology would reimburse us for, but it does bring the contract over the 100,000 limit, and so I'm here tonight to seek your approval to pay that invoice for their services. And I anticipate coming back in January with a final voucher on this project.
Darcy, is this kind of monitoring normal for a project like this, or is it just because it's the type of project it is? I don't remember having to do this kind of monitoring in the past.
It's more common today, and I think it's becoming a standard for all ground disturbing work. The valley itself, the city of Wenatchee, ranks very high risk for cultural resources due to our location with the alluvial fan and on the riverbank and shoreline. So it's pretty standard for Ecology to request this on all projects. So it kind of comes with the funding.
Well, and it's nice that they are paying for it. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and make a motion, Your Honor, for the city council to approve the contract with Tierra Right-of-Way Services for cultural resource monitoring during construction activities for the 9th Street Basin Water Quality Retrofit, City Project Number 2101, and authorize the city administrator to sign the contract documents.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Atkinson, second by Councilmember Hornby for City Council to approve the contract with Tierra Right-of-Way Services for cultural resource monitoring during construction activities for the 9th Street Basin Water Quality Retrofit, City Project 2101, and authorize the city administrator to sign the contract and documents. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Ryan Harmon, Engineering Services Manager, here to talk about a couple items that Mr. Higginbottom brought up at the beginning of the meeting. This first item is for budget approval and grant authorization for our Bridge Street multimodal corridor project. This was an ask funded by the Transportation Improvement Board, TIB, through their Complete Streets program. In this section of, taking a step back, with our pedestrian bridge project that I've been here before in front of you and then will be after this, we've gone through original iterations meant for the bridge to cross over the railroad tracks and then land at Wenatchee Avenue. Through alternative analysis and design of that became cost prohibitive at the time. And so we were making it over a barrier and kind of coming into a new barrier at Bridge Street. And so we've been aggressively approaching this possible project, being Bridge Street, and providing that continued pedestrian and bicycle corridor for people to navigate up to and then through Wenatchee Avenue. And so I want to give a big kudos to Nicole Brockwell and Harry Sharma and their work on putting this grant application together. We're successful in getting $1.26 million, which goes a long ways to improving that. So with that, I'd open it up to any questions. I did also bring this to Finance Committee earlier.
When is the startup again?
So the intent is that this would get started in 2027. The pedestrian bridges are going to begin construction next April, and they'll continue through fall of 2026. And then that next year is when this improvement would come right on the heels of that.
Your Honor, I will move for City Council to approve the project budget and authorize the city administrator to sign the Transportation Improvement Board grant agreement forms.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Harold and second by Councilmember Cuevas for City Council to approve the project budget and authorize the city administrator to sign the Transportation Improvement Board grant agreement forms. Any other discussion or comments? I am going to make a comment. When I went to Harry and said thank you, all he did was turn it around and give other people credit. And it just tells you how much of a team effort. You guys really are, you mesh. You guys really do know what other people are thinking and how to do it. And I don't know if it's, I'm going to ask anyway, can you, Harry is he was so excited that he's going after another part of a grant. Do you mind
Absolutely,
mentioning
yeah.
that?
No, first, thank you for the commendation there. But When I mentioned that we were aggressively going after funding for this, we've applied for 3 different grant programs to this. The first being the WashDOT administered ped and bike program, which we were not successful with. This is the second, the TIB Complete Streets program, but we've also applied for the Sandy Williams Connecting Communities grant. This is administered through WashDOT. And so that's the third one that Harry was referencing. Having gotten notice of this before, the intent is that we're looking to still go after the Sandy Williams monies for the match portion. So as conditioned here, the city's contribution is about $315,000. So this would cover that. And there's some additional project partnering that we went after through that program that would be additional to this project as well.
Well, I think this is a great project. Too bad I have to wait till 27 to see it, but I've also seen several renditions and how you brought different options to us, and I came up with the best plan. So once again, thanks for your work.
So it could be possibly fully funded.
It could be, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Mayor, if I may, I really just want to give, tonight's the night of kudos. I guess it's the last meeting of the year. But I want to call out the $1.26 million is not an easy amount to bring forward, and the team makes it look so easy. The fact that we had a project that was, almost right at the finish line, and they quickly turned around and figured out how to get it done is a really, really, really big deal, not only for the work that happens within our departments and within this team, but from an equity standpoint for South Wenatchee Avenue, this is a huge project that's delivering on the work from the South Wenatchee Action Plan. So if the project is approved, I just think it really will mean a lot to that community. And again, just really thank you to Ryan and Harry and Nicole and everyone for just, again, I'm just astounded how quickly they were able to get this. So, yeah, thank you.
Way to go.
We already made a motion, second. did
Yeah.
everything, yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Moving to my next agenda item of the night was the authorization to execute a BNSF CNM agreement for our pedestrian bridge project. As alluded, obviously, we're looking to put a new bridge over the top of the BNSF right-of-way. And so this is the agreement capturing all construction-related requirements and costs, and then establishing those long-term maintenance responsibilities. Councilmember Atkinson asked a great question at Finance Committee. This has been thoroughly reviewed by our legal group, and it is consistent with other agreements that we've gotten our hands on of the similar type. And so with that, I open it up to any questions.
Hearing no questions, I'll make a motion for the city council to authorize the city administrator to execute the construction and maintenance CNM agreement between the city of Wenatchee and BNSF for overpass crossing improvements to be constructed as part of the South End Bike Ped Access Bridge Project, City Project Number 2201.2.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Huffaker and second by Councilmember Hornby for City Council to authorize City Administrator to execute the construction and maintenance CNM agreement between the City of Wenatchee and BNSF for overpass crossing improvements to be constructed as part of the South End Bike Ped Access Bridge Project, City Project Number 2201.2. Any comments or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
I apologize, I should have mentioned before, bids opening is next Thursday for this project. So the intent is that we'll be bringing this to you on January 9th for bid award.
Can I get an invitation to that bid opening?
Consider it, yes.
Thank you.
Consider yourself invited, yes, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Brad Posenjack, Finance Director. On page 333 of your council packet, you'll
But
find
who's counting?
you'll find ordinance 2024-31. This is our third amendment to the 2024 budget, third and final, because we don't have another chance to amend the 2024 budget. And as I've mentioned, at any of these budget amendment ordinances, Many things come up during the year that we did not anticipate when we built the 2024 budget back in mid-2023. And so we are required by state law to stay within our legally adopted budget. So these budget amendments just help us cover those projects and kind of some of the one-time things that end up popping up throughout the year. On page 333 of your packet, there is a summary of the different budget amendments that are included in here. Each one of these have been discussed at Finance Committee, and you should have seen these in the Finance Committee notes over the last 3 months. So otherwise, if you've got any questions, I'm happy to field those.
Your Honor, I will move for City Council to approve ordinance number 2024-31, amending the 2024 budget as adopted by ordinance number 2023-22, as amended by ordinance number 2024-10 and ordinance number 2024-22 to revoke, recall, or decrease all or a portion of total appropriations provided and enter findings that this ordinance is in the best interest of the city.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Harold and second by Councilmember Cuevas for City Council approve ordinance 2024-31, amending the 2024 budget as adopted by ordinance number 2023-22, as amended by ordinance number 2024-10 and ordinance number 2024-22 to revoke, recall, and decrease all or a portion of total appropriations provided and entering findings that this ordinance is the best interest of the city. Any comments or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. DeVries.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight I come before you with a recommendation from the Columbia River Homeless Task Force. On November 5th, the task force adopted a recommendation for the City Council to extend current homeless program contracts through June 30th, 2025 for the purposes of providing adequate time for joint city planning, review by the new city homeless response coordinator, and the ability for any contract changes with contractors to find alternative funding sources where there might be any changes. Staff has a recommendation that the Wenatchee City Council authorize the mayor to enter into grant agreements with the following entities for the amounts and the purposes described here. First, the People's Foundation for grant contract extension in the amount of $105,000 for the purposes of providing 50 low-barrier shelter beds at St. Francis House with a contract period extending from January 1, 2025 through the end of June 30, 2025. And secondly, the Wenatchee Rescue Mission for a grant contract maintaining and supporting 2 Safe Park RV programs for the unsheltered, the low-barrier shelter sleep center with 44 individual detached shelter units with 90 beds, a congregate low-barrier shelter facility with 45 men's beds and 20 women's beds, and an outreach program serving Wenatchee and East Wenatchee for a combined amount of $533,535 with a contract period extending from January 1, 2025 through the end of June 30th, 2025. Maintaining these contracts are essential to the 2 city programs for the shelter system and the outreach system that serves the 2 cities. For a total of 204 beds that are provided and 51 RV stalls in the outreach system. Additionally, there are 5 other contracts that didn't require extensions, that didn't require councilmatic authority. But with that being said, you'll be seeing all the contracts in the first quarter of 2025, looking at an extension through December 2026. But this provides us some additional time to work with the providers. There are no fiscal impacts associated with the proposals. They follow the adopted city budget. The funding source is Fund 117, the local sales and use tax for housing and related services. And contracts will be finalized this December. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
How are things going so far with the pallet shelters now that they're open?
Really
that
well.
looking?
I mean, we'll always be learning things and trying to improve over time, but things are going well. I think if you go by throughout the city, you'll see very few homeless individuals. We've been able to house a lot of people, and now we're looking at these are low-barrier emergency shelter housing components. Now we're really working hard with wraparound service providers, our partners in the community, to look at exits to permanent housing. So things are really working well. It took a couple years to get the bones of the system in place. Now we're just really excited to have folks, the majority of folks in shelter, so we can try to work with them to exit them out of their point of crisis and into more permanent solutions.
That's great. Is that vacancy right now? Is it full?
It's not full. I think we have, as of today, we do a bed vacancy tracker. I think we have about 20 beds at the Wenatchee Rest Commission. I think there were about 5 at the People's Foundation. I can't remember off the top of my head what the Y had. And we also have the ability to do some emergency beds above and beyond that when it's cold.
Thank you.
So I just want to say I'm hearing a lot of comments from the public about how pleased they are, especially the George Seller Bridge and all the work you've done down there. Josh, our homeless response coordinator, has done an amazing job, and he's getting people moved into these shelters. It's improved 100%, 1,000%, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the work you've done.
Well, thank you, and I think you'll really, if you haven't met Josh Mathena, please do stop by sometime and meet him, or at some point we'll certainly have him before council, so you can talk about some of the success he's having in the efforts.
He's doing an amazing job.
He really is.
So Glenn, you mentioned the wraparound services, and I was kind of curious how that was going. I know part of the idea is to get those services there where they're at so they can help them. And I know it's early days, but I'm just kind of curious, are they making the efforts? Are they on site? Are they doing what we've asked them to do?
No, there's a lot more to be done on that. We do have folks going to the site, such as CVCH, Catholic Family Services, the county with coordinated entry. But there's a lot more that needs to be done to successfully place folks out of the shelters and into permanent housing solutions. And so we've done a big push to get folks housed in temporary shelter, but that's really where we're focused now, is to really heavily work on those partnerships. We know we can't provide those services, so we're really exploring those and trying to work with that.
On that note, I'd like to encourage you to reach out to us if you need help in making those connections happen, or put pressure where it needs to. Because there's only so much that we can do as a city, and the final result of helping these people, they have to have that second step. Otherwise, this process is not going to work. Get them the help that they need. So.
Thank you very much. We will definitely take you up on that.
But it's a night of kudos, and if I can have the horn for just a little bit longer, what you've been able to do of assisting these people and moving them out of these areas and giving them services has been phenomenal over the years. I know we have taken this on as a city and learning, and we've made maybe some mistakes, but it's impressive of the low barrier shelters for the safe parks, as well as what we've done with the low barrier shelters. So thanks for all the work you've done.
Thank you, and it's been a city team approach. I think every department in the city has had their hands on this, doing it together, and I think the collaboration amongst the team has been wonderful, and I think the results show that.
Yep. With that, I'll make a motion for the city council to authorize the mayor to enter into grant agreements with following entities for the following amounts and the identified purpose. People's Foundation for a grant contract extension in the amount of $105,000 for the purpose of providing 50 low barrier shelter beds at St. Francis House, with a contract period extending from January 1st, 2025 through the end of June 30, 2025. The Wenatchee rescue mission for a grant contract maintaining and supporting 2 safe park RV programs for the unsheltered, a low barrier shelter sleep center with 44 individual detached shelter units with 90 beds, a coordinated low barrier shelter facility with 45 men's beds and 20 women's beds, and an outreach program serving Wenatchee, East Wenatchee for the combined amount of $533,535 with a contract period extending from January 1st, 2025 through the end of June 30th, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hornby and second by Councilmember Ewer for City Council authorize the mayor to enter the grant agreements with the following entities for the following amounts and the identified purpose. The People's Foundation for a grant contract extension in the amount of $105,000 for the purpose of providing 50 low barrier shelter beds at St. Francis House with a contract period extending from January 1st, 2025 through the end of June 30th, 2025. The Wenatchee Rescue Mission for a grant contract maintaining and supporting 2 safe park RV programs for the unsheltered, a low barrier shelter sleep center with 44 individual detached shelter units with 90 beds, a congregate low barrier shelter facility with 45 men's beds and 20 women's beds, and an outreach program serving the Wenatchee and East Wenatchee for a combined amount of $533,535, with a contract period extending from January 1st, 2025 through the end of June 30th, 2025. My comment is this success is a lot because of you, City Council. About you seeing the vision and the support of our staff and recognizing what we needed to do, this would not be as a success. Glenn's job, obviously, and his team is to continue that, to see the vision of this city of what we believe is the right thing for our community. But it did start with you passing certain codes from the past. So I am going to mention that for you guys. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Oh, that was a lot, Keith, but we got to keep going.
More to do.
Public hearing, we'll call the public hearing order regarding proposed amendments to Title 7, 10, and 15 of the Wenatchee City Code, the City of Wenatchee Capital Facilities Plan, the Wenatchee Urban Area Comprehensive Plan, and the Residential Design Guidelines. Staff will first give a report, followed by then the public testimony. All speakers, please speak in the microphone and clearly state your name and address. All comments should be addressed to the hearing body and should not be of personal nature. Public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes, and I think we are good, so we'll go with staff.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'm Mia Bretz, Associate Planner. And today we're going to talk about your code and plan amendments for the year. We'll go through the public process that we went through this year to do these updates, and then a little bit of review specifically on each one, and then some next steps. So our process began this year with some state legislation that was passed in 2023 and 24 with the recognition that our state is in a housing crisis. And so the legislature enacted several new laws that focus on requiring cities to update their plans for housing related to specifically what they call middle housing and accessory dwelling units, focusing their work toward development around urban infrastructure, so in cities. Because our 2019 housing code update, we already met many of the requirements of these new state laws. And since it's been about 5 years since we had that big code update, we also thought a great opportunity to reflect on how the code has been working. Before I talk a little more about that, I just wanted to note that these actions are specific to market rate housing. So there it says affordable housing, but you'll notice in the gray it says market rate housing. So on our housing spectrum here, we have housing units that everyone can afford, and then we have people who can't afford housing. And we, as Glenn was talking about, address people who can't afford housing in some ways. These efforts are targeted for housing to people who could afford market rate housing that we don't have enough of. So these are specifically efforts toward 80 to 120% of the family median income is the type of housing ranges that we're looking at. So we embarked on this with two main goals, of course, to meet the state laws. The state defines our city size based on our population as a Tier 2 city, and the items below there are a summary of what the requirements are for us as a Tier 2 city. And we also wanted to iterate from our lessons learned from our 2019 Housing Code update. So we already said that more housing diversity was a goal for us in 2019 when we stopped restrictive single-family zoning and we started allowing a lot of different housing types throughout the city. But we also found that there were some challenges that have been arising. So here on the left is a list of a few things that we found that weren't working very well. While we have seen an increase in apartment building and townhouse developments, we haven't seen as many smaller infill projects of 2, 3, or 4 units. And these unit types only represent a small percentage of our housing stock in the city. So through our staff, permit review teams, feedback, and developer interviews, we also found that our code can be overly complex and specific at times, making it a challenge to often have different styles of buildings or different number of units on one property. So while our code does now allow duplexes, cottages, and other examples of infill housing that it didn't before 2019, there are still some barriers and complexity in the regulations that were contributing to low or no production of some housing types. So over 8 workshops with the Planning Commission this year, we studied this issue. We looked into what the legislative requirements would be, as well as these challenges and potential solutions that we could come up with to solve some of these challenges. Then this fall, we were able to start meeting with you guys through the Public Service Committee workshop, as well as a council workshop and a council historic tour. So thank you to those of you who were able to join us for that. And now today, and then we also held a public hearing last month with our Planning Commission. Great, so now we'll move to summarizing the code changes. There's 4 code categories of changes. The housing changes are, you'll see both in our code as well as in the residential design guidelines. And then we have these 3 other sections of code that are being amended. So specifically, this is a summary of the things that are being changed for housing. So the first 4 items are the state mandated items, and the 5 and 6 are things the city has decided that are going to be beneficial for us. So middle housing means allowing all different unit types in all of our zones, which we almost already did. So we had to expand a little bit of our district use chart to allow apartments and townhomes into some of our lower density zones, and we still limited those to only 3 attached units. We also had to make a change to our density, which is to allow 2 units per lot. We currently regulate density by units per acre, and there's no proposed change to that. We're just adding this new requirement of 2 units per lot on top of that, and then 4 units per lot if an affordable unit is provided. There's additionally an exception for the application of this density requirement in areas that are categorized as mule deer habitat. So those are the middle housing legislative pieces. The ADU housing, accessory dwelling unit housing, is required to allow 2 per lot. And then for both, for all housing, we are to require only 1 off-street parking space for lots that are less than 6,000 square feet. This is a change for us for units that have 2 or more bedrooms. Currently, we only require 1 space per bedroom, up to 2, with a maximum of 2 spaces provided. So this impact is just to lots with less than 6,000 square feet and units with 2 or more bedrooms. The most substantive change is the creation of a new section of residential code for the development of 1 to 4 units. This code section, it aims to simplify our standards and allow diversity of options for the development of up to 4 units on 1 lot. So for example, if there's an existing home already on a lot and somebody wanted to add on to it and build another unit, we wouldn't need to talk about if it's a single family home or a duplex. We would just consider it a 1 or 2 unit project. And so this simplifies the standards, and this was part of the complications that we had seen in our analysis. The last piece is reorganization of some of the site design standards, and in the residential design guidelines, there was for parking, access, and walkways, different requirements for different types of housing, and we tried to streamline that so the requirements would be the same for all housing types. Our comprehensive plan talks a lot about goals related to infill development and supporting a reforming of our zoning code. The staff report goes into detail about the different policies and goals that are related to these changes, but here is a good summary of some of the themes that we see in our comprehensive plan that support these changes. All right, the next section is on light and glare. So this is a new section to protect adjoining properties from light pollution. While this is not a robust code section, it is a key step in helping us implement a dark sky goal and policies from our community design and healthy communities element. Our pedestrian amenities sections of our code are in our North Wenatchee Business District and in our South Wenatchee Business District development standards. Currently, there are a menu of choices that new developments may choose from, but are required to provide at least 2 amenities. This is an example of one application that was not as successful as others. We have had some challenges with implementation and are proposing to repeal this requirement. These are the only districts where this requirement is required. And the last code section is an update to our public utilities and services definition that expands what public facilities are. Such uses as electrical substations, water reservoirs, and pump stations are already in it, and this is expanding to also include other public services such as transit centers and public safety facilities like fire and police. This will, the intent is to allow such uses in or near the areas where the services will be needed. There was also an update to the standards for the conditional use permit that would be required with the development of these facilities to protect the facilities that are in residential for the character of the residential zoning districts that they might be built within. All right, and the last two pieces will be the comprehensive plan and the capital facilities plan. Our comprehensive plan update is related to our middle housing update. Our comprehensive plan, as I mentioned earlier, mostly already aligns with the state legislative changes, as well as, of course, our own city goals. That's where we describe our goals, is in our comprehensive plan. However, here in the land use table, we needed to make some updates to the housing types and density, as those were both some new requirements for us. So you can see primarily the changes are in our lower density zones, adding additional housing types and density. Our capital facilities plan is updated annually to reflect changes in projects for each year. I believe you've been able to discuss these changes through the budget development, and these changes are reflected within our 2025 draft budget. Great. So to summarize our work in housing, which was really the biggest piece of our changes this year, we, as in our 2019 code update, have continued to iterate the process and reflect and make sure that our changes are working for our city. So we will continue to execute the grant that we've been working under this year for implementing these middle housing code changes, as well as begin our comprehensive plan process over this next year, which will come with its own potential code amendments. So we will continue to review and, as always, promise you to reflect and be back with more. Your Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend adoption of these proposed changes, and I, as long as we're sending the kudos out, want to give them a lot of kudos for all of their efforts and time over this last year. They thought deeply, asked tough questions, and I think we have a better product because of all of their work, so thank you to them. Your motion includes 3 resolutions and 3 ordinances, so this is a quick summary of those to correlate to the presentation that I gave. Do you have any questions?
The first 4 are going to be state. When's the timing on the state? Even though we're doing things already, but those first 4 you were talking about is mandated by the state by what date?
Yes, so the middle housing and accessory dwelling unit code changes are required to be completed by the end of 2026. Okay. So yes, we are early in coming to you, and that's because we've already had a lot of those changes done. A lot of the things that are being required of cities, we already are doing. So it seemed like a great opportunity for us to take a step forward in trying to improve some of the things that we were seeing as issues with the housing code. And we're a little bit of a leader in this. We'll be one of the first cities to take this first step.
Councilmember Huffaker?
Yeah, so to be clear, with the middle housing, is this something the state is requiring us to do, or are they opening it up so that we can do that if we choose?
So the things that were listed in the presentation are requirements. We are required to provide the density. We're required to allow the middle housing types in all residential zones. We're required to do the parking update. Those are requirements that must be accomplished in our code by the end of 2026. Otherwise, the State Department of Commerce has written a model code that would apply if we didn't adopt it.
Well, I'm just going to go on record on my way out the door that I don't agree with it. I think that's going to create numerous issues. We already have infrastructure problems in the city of Wenatchee. We can't build roads as fast as traffic is building up here. And I think by the time Confluence Parkway is built, it will be too small already if we continue to allow this kind of growth to happen. I think probably the cost of building is going to be our saving grace, is that you can't build an affordable middle housing. It's just cost prohibitive to do these days. So if we have to adopt it, we have to do it, but I disagree with it.
Thank you for your comment. Any other staff? Or you did it all? You were the representative tonight.
I did all the speaking, but it really was a team effort.
Thanks, Mia. At this time, then I'll turn it over to public comment. Well, I know Robin, his husband's not here for that. We already recognized Keith, so thanks, Robin, for loaning him for the last 12 years. I see no public comments, so I will now close the public hearing and turn the matter over to the city council for any action.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion for City Council to approve Resolution Number 2024-38, amending and restating the City of Wenatchee Capital Facilities Plan. Approve Resolution Number 2024-39, amending the Wenatchee Urban Area Comprehensive Plan. Approve Resolution Number 2024-40, amending the Wenatchee Residential Design Guidelines. Adopt Ordinance Number 2024-32, amending Section 7.22.020 of the Wenatchee City Code related to sidewalks constructed during building improvement. Adopt Ordinance Number 2024-33, amending Wenatchee City Code Title 10 zoning, and adopt Ordinance Number 2024-34, amending Section 15.02.0405 of the Wenatchee City Code relating to development impact fees.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Ewer and second by Councilmember Hornby for City Council to approve Resolution Number 2024-38, amending and restating the City of Wenatchee Capital Facilities Plan. Approved Resolution Number 2024-39, amending the Wenatchee Urban Area Comprehensive Plan. Approved Resolution Number 2024-40, amending the Wenatchee Residential Design Guidelines. Adopt Ordinance Number 2024-32, amending Section 7.22.020 of the Wenatchee City Code related to sidewalks constructed during building improvements. Adopt Ordinance 2024-33, amending Wenatchee City Code Title 10 zoning. And adopt Ordinance Number 2024-34, amending Section 15.02.0405 of the Wenatchee City Code relating to development impact fees. Any other discussion or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Lots of stuff tonight, huh? Let's see. I think the open house was incredibly successful. Tells you the momentum of this city council, and your, again, Keith, I know we keep saying it, but your contribution here, I think, helped bring people that want to continue this success. I don't have too much. The council position ends December 27th, so keep pushing that out there. I believe after tonight's 4 to 5, I bet we have 10 or 15 applications, so that's going to be great, but I'd keep pushing that out there. Maybe somebody can help me with this. The billboard growth management appeal has been dropped. Laura, can you explain that or how about Glenn? What does that exactly does that mean? What does that mean? I think it's good news for us, so I wanted you to explain it.
Go ahead.
Okay. We received notice from the city attorney's office that Outfront Media dropped their appeal at the Growth Management Hearings Board. So after city council rejected the ordinance that we had drafted that would fulfill the settlement agreement, we had another brief settlement conversation that the city didn't accept, and subsequently they dropped their appeal. So that being said, I think great work from our community, acknowledging what they want to see as far as, or don't want to see, which are billboards. And so what that means is our ordinance stands on its merits, and we'll work towards advertising out those billboards that are subject to that code over the next 6 years. So, great news.
Good news, yeah.
That's great news.
Fantastic.
So I know
Our city attorneys earned their money. They wrote it in such a way that it couldn't be overturned. So,
yeah,
tell Steve, great job.
it's a great ordinance, and like I had mentioned, there are other cities are watching this process. City of Spokane has been very interested in our code and the hearings board appeal, and I had a good conversation with their policy director just before Thanksgiving. So I know they're going down this road as well, and so this was good news to cities. I think that we have control over of how we look.
Thank you for.
Outstanding.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to say that was a tricky one, and I'm proud of us for just really holding true to what we believe to be the best thing for our community. It wasn't an easy one to talk about, but we did what we knew it was right. So kudos to everybody for that.
And thank you for all the citizens who wrote to us and let your voices be heard.
That really helped. It helped a lot. It just was overwhelming.
People's voice do matter. City Administrator, anything else?
Only other thing I have is just that we will be working with Lodestar Partners, Blake Baldwin as our state lobbyist. We contracted with a federal lobbyist a year ago, and that has paid dividends and being able to move Confluence Parkway forward and getting our term sheet and a couple of other things. And so working at the state level to continue to focus on that effort, as well as other things like housing, other transportation infrastructure items. So really excited to start working with Blake locally and to get more advocacy and representation for us in Olympia.
Thank you. How about the other city council? What have you guys been up to?
Just, I sent an email out earlier that Tammy forwarded on to you from Solid Waste. So Department of Ecology is implementing their mandatory recycling of food waste. So part of what I sent is a list of all the affected businesses. If you go to their website, you can see some of the parameters there. It still feels a little bit like they're making it up as they go. It's going to be implemented in January, and there's still nothing official stating exactly what the rules are. Right now, it looks like they're using the size of your traditional waste if you have a dumpster. So places that are going to be hit the hardest are little mom and pop shop that happen to be part of a strip mall. Those people, because they use the same dumpster as everybody else, are going to get roped into that, and they're going to have to put in a food waste bin even if they don't have enough waste. So there's going to be a lot of changes over the next couple of years. We're just going to have to see how things go. But I did provide the list of all the people who've been for sure put on the list that are going to have the recycling bins.
And this was mandated by the state.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we expect a little bit better news. You got anything else for us since it's your last meeting?
I just actually wanted to thank all the people who did show up tonight that are interested in the position and for staying for the whole meeting. Great job. The meetings aren't always this long and always this drawn out, but last meetings of the year are typically longer. So thank you all for coming tonight. I know I didn't get to talk to everybody. I met most of you, but really appreciate you guys being here and interested in the position. This is a great council, great city, and I think whoever fills this seat will do well.
Thank you, Councilmember Huffaker. Anybody else?
I am really going to miss you, Keith. You are the voice that I always listen to because I know I was going to get the right information and I was going to get the point of view I had never considered. And you have no idea how much I appreciate you and all of your hard work on this council.
Thank you.
It won't be the same without you, and I will really miss you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Huffaker, I don't know how to say thank you. And when I mean something from the bottom of my heart, this is going to make me cry because I remember the first day you opened up your heart, your arms to me. You said, "Come over here, sit next to me." And I'm never going to forget that. I'm sure going to miss you, man. He gave me the opportunity and he taught me, educated me how to be a council member as what I am now, and I'm still learning from him. He's my guidance, and honestly, I'm going to miss him because he's not going to be around here and get some advice, but I do appreciate your time and educating me. You know, it's been an honor serving next to you. Don't know what else to say, but best of luck to you.
Thank you, Jose. It's been great working with you as well and getting to know you.
Thank you.
And your wife does my wife's hair wonderfully.
Thank you, Robin.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Keith, just thanks right from the get-go. You were available and have really appreciated being able to give you a call on a number of occasions. So thank you and
my pleasure.
Best of
My
you
pleasure.
guys, yeah.
Thank you.
Same to that. One of my first council meetings was Poppy Days, and I had no idea. And you were the first one to open up your wallet and loan me a few bucks so I could buy some of those flowers. So thank you. But not just on a city council level. You and your wife both are such incredible community members, and you've been really impactful in your work and your volunteerism, and you've just done so much for the community. So thank you for all that you've both done. And Idaho's lucky to have you. We'll miss you.
Thank you.
Don't be a stranger.
Oh, we'll be back.
With that, we need a motion, Councilmember Huffaker.
I will make a motion to close the meeting for 2024.
Second.
There's a motion by Councilmember Huffaker and second by Lotz. Councilmember Harold, to close the meeting for 2024. Thank you, everybody. Have the great holidays with family.